So the Ravens hired Chuck Pagano. Obviously, Chuck Pagano, longtime NFL coach, was coached with the Colts during the Andrew Luck years. Had cancer, unfortunately, but beat that while with the Colts. And now John Harbaugh brings him back in. It's a reunion with John Harbaugh, who hired Pagano to the Ravens staff in 2008, and 17 years later, now 64 years old, Chuck Pagano is now back in Baltimore. And, Coach, I got to ask you, do you think the Ravens hired Chuck Pagano so Chuck could go back into the head coaching ranks one day?
Nah, he's a loyal Harbaugh family friend. Their families are real tight. He was there as a DC in their heyday. Got him a head job for the Colts after he had a great year being the D coordinator in Baltimore years ago on when they were really good, and then was a DB coach there. He's a great DB guy. Him, Pete Carroll, Nick Saban all have one thing in common. They know the back row in defense. That's what made them good head coaches. So I think he's going to live his days out doing that. I think he just wants to be around the game. A lot of guys get older, man. They don't want – McAfee kept him alive, I think, keeping him relevant, name, face out there. So he didn't just sit at home in Boise and sit around. I congratulated him. I texted him. I think he just needs to be around it again. So I think that's what it is. He's more of an analyst. He's not really going to be out there backpedaling and demonstrating in fucking cleats how to backpedal, turn, and run. He's not doing that. He's just kind of going to be an older head in the locker, in the meeting rooms that knows the game inside and out and can help the younger coaches. They got great DB coaches already there in Baltimore. So I just think it's a fill-in type of job, and I just see that as what it is. But we'll see. I don't think he has any admiration of coaching as a head coach again at this age. But we'll see, maybe. But I think he could have got a coordinator role if he really wanted to do it that way. He could have been a DC. He could have called Pete Carroll. He could have called a lot of guys. Let me come be your DC. I don't think he wants to do it that strong, or he would have pushed for that.
Absolutely. That's a good point you raised. And one thing you mentioned that I kind of want to show a video on, you mentioned Pat McAfee, kept Chuck Pagano going, especially in the last year. We saw Chuck on McAfee a ton. And here's Chuck kind of just, giving a little praise to Pat and discussing on the Pat McAfee show. Take a listen.
Love you, Pat. You know how much I love the boys. This has been a life game changer for me, being on this. It was my wife. I am so grateful. Please have me on, every now and then.
No.
You want me to put on the waffle? You want me to do whatever? Please, I still get a chance to come on from time to time. I would greatly appreciate that. But
never again.
You have no idea what you've done for me, Pat, and you boys.
We love you, Coach. We appreciate it.
Yeah, like you mentioned. Yeah, that's big for Chuck. I got to ask you, so him coming into Baltimore, do you think he can have an impact on this Baltimore defense? I think at times in the defensive secondary we saw them struggle. They do have Marlon Humphrey, all-pro corner. What do you think the impact Chuck Pagano could have on this Ravens defensive secondary?
I don't think you'll see the impact. It'll be small nuances that the coaches benefit from more than the players. I don't think you'll see anything that's going to be like, oh, that's because they hired Chuck Pagano. I don't see that happening. I don't think his role and his voice will be loud enough or big enough. So that's the problem. Or that's not the problem, but that's where it kind of will start and end, in my opinion. I don't think you're going to see, the results from him being in that room. I think the coaches will benefit. I think the team will benefit overall because the coaches will lighten their load, and maybe coaches make a better call because of Chuck during the week's preparation. But other than that, you're not going to notice what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, either way, I think it's nice seeing Chuck back out there coaching again. Shout out to John Harbaugh and the Ravens for bringing back Chuck. I saw Chuck on McAfee. I was like, man, he needs to be out there coaching, man. So I'm happy that Harbaugh brings him in, gives him another shot.